Well, families of Israeli hostages still held in Gaza and Israelis critical of the Netanyahu government are holding their first protest since the war in Gaza resumed. Protesters gathered at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, demanding the release of dozens of hostages still in Hamas custody. They criticised the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, saying his policies put further hostage lives at risk. Protesters also rejected Netanyahu's attempts to fire the head of Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service. DW correspondent Emily Gordine is following developments from Jerusalem. How are hostage families reacting now that open hostilities have restarted?
Well, Ben, they're absolutely terrified. I've spoken to a few people here, and what they've told me over and over again is that they are frightened for the hostages, but they're also, in light of the recent firing of the Shin Bet's head, Ronan Bar, they're also frightened for their own democracy. And one thing that I keep hearing over and over again, excuse the noise, these are demonstrators who are trying to make their voices heard by making a lot of noise because they feel in this political environment currently their voices simply aren't heard. What I've been hearing over and over again at this protest and at previous protests beforehand is that they want to see an end to the war, they want to see the hostages returned, and something that they also keep repeating is that they believe that this government, and in particular this Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, does not have the best interests of the country in mind, but that he is acting in his own best interests, meaning that he is acting to make sure of his own political survival.
Emily, if you can hear me, tell us more about these high-profile firings in the Netanyahu government.
Yes, so this week we saw Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announce his plan to fire the head of the Shin Bet, Ronan Bar. Now that has sparked a wave of protests in Israel because people say that, again, he is doing this to protect his own political future. What you need to know here is that the Shin Bet, the Israel Secret Service, is in the process of investigating some of Netanyahu's closest aides for illicit ties to Qatar during the ongoing war in Gaza. And the Attorney General of Israel, Gali Baharav Miara, she's tried to put a spanner in the works. They're saying that this is a conflict of interest. And even the High Court in Israel has now ordered his dismissal to be stopped for now, until after they've heard petitions that were passed on to the High Court to prevent the dismissal of Ronan Bar. Now, tomorrow we're also going to see the Israeli cabinet vote on potentially dismissing even the Attorney General herself, who has been seen as a thorn in the side of this government. And essentially something that protesters here, but also experts in Israel, say is that what the government is trying to do here is to replace key figures around the government with political appointees that will make it easier for them to put through policies that are in their own interests. Now, this would effectively, according to critics, but also according to many of the protesters here, dismantle the Israeli democracy itself, and that is why tomorrow as well we're expected to see large protests in Jerusalem.
You'll keep us up to date, no doubt. Emily Gordine, thank you for your reporting from Jerusalem.